I'm going to sound like somebody who's had, you know, so many aches and pains, but,
You
you know, when it's not like all within 1 week, you know, they were interspersed between 10 years, you know. So the ankle thing was, I actually fell. I was on my way to a new job and I just moved house and I'd moved to a new area and I just started following people to the train station because I didn't know where it was. And they were all crossing this little wooden bridge and I fell down. I just fell down the wooden steps and, you know, ripped my trousers. And all of this was on my new first day at the new job and all of that. Anyway, all of those things. And the ankle hurt for like a year. And I remember you just spoke to me. It was almost hypnotic. I'm not even sure. I can't really remember. It was so long ago. But the pain, I've never even thought about my ankle again. That was just, it's funny that you reminded me of that. But my knees, Althea, really, they were significant because the pain was really bad. You know, it was, it just stopped me doing everything to the point where my sister came over to Australia because I'm living in Australia. She came to visit me. And one day, you know, you want to do the touristy things, you're in the car, and I couldn't get out. I couldn't get out of the car. I couldn't figure out how to swing my body out of the car because my knees just wouldn't do it. I couldn't. Anyway, it was horrific. We're both sitting there crying. She couldn't believe it. She couldn't bear to see her sister, her younger sister,
she's
in
older,
pain
isn't
like
it?
this. You
She
know,
doesn't
how
even.
can you be like that? And, you know, she was just, yeah, she didn't know what to do. She was afraid that if she pulled my legs out, was she going to break them and all of this sort of stuff? It was really bad. And I said to her, okay, look, maybe we just drive straight to the doctor and we just see if, you know, and then you'll only have to pull me out once, if you know what I mean. We just go through that.
Was it a build? Was it a crescendo? Was it a build up to that point? Was
It
it a
was a
gradual?
massive build up. It had been going for at least a year, maybe more. I don't know. And you know, like at meetings at work, I would have to excuse myself constantly. I'd be like, "Oh, I'm really sorry, can't sit for this long." You know, I have to just stand up and walk around, and it was awkward. You know, and these were like, I work for government. It wasn't great. It's not a great look. Just sitting there crying. You know, you just think, "Oh, wow, is that? It must be really bad then." So we went into the doctor. You know, and she recommended all kinds of specialists, this and that, you know, x-rays, you name it. So we did all of those things. But in the meantime, that night, I think, I had a session with you, which was really funny. And the doctor said to me, oh, you need a week off. You know, there's no way you can walk like this and this and that. So, and she said, and I need to get you to the hospital and all of those things. And so go home and here's a letter. But for some reason or other, we forgot the letter at the surgery. So we left and we got home and I remembered, oh no, I forgot the letter. But then I had your session and I went back the next day and I walked in the surgery and she just had this look on her face of someone who'd had their leg pulled, you know, like she'd been taken in. And she was like, oh, what happened? You know, what, you can walk now? He was like, oh, you just did this to get the time off work. I was like a cripple walking in the day before. I had my sister holding me, trying to shuffle along, you know, and I couldn't sit down. Like the first thing they say is, oh, sit down in the waiting room. I couldn't sit down for fear of not being able to get up. So it was just, you know, it was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
She thought I'd be all on. She thought it was an act. It was just,
One day.
it didn't totally go out there. It wasn't that. It was just like my joints, I don't know whether they were frozen or something. And it just undid that part of it. Do you know what I mean? And then when we had our other sessions, well, it just deleted all of that pain. It was just amazing, really. It's never, ever come back. Never. Even stuff like going to the beach. I mean, Australia is surrounded by beaches, and you imagine that, oh yeah, you just walk into a beach. It's not like that. A lot of the time you're going over the top of a dune and there are lots of steps on the way down. I couldn't go to a beach because I couldn't make those wooden steps. You know, I'd have to walk for miles until the beach and the land, you know, like kind of came together and was flat. or find the disabled ramp, which was often near the shops and things like that.
And I
So you
remember you
can't
said,
go on a deserted part of the beach. We have two versions of trams. We have like ones that kind of have they're like newer trams basically, and they're more appropriate for disabled, like wheelchairs and prams and all of that sort of stuff. But they're the older type that have the steps. I would just have to miss that tram. It would be like, oh well, next tram, and just hope that the next one would be, you know, a newer version. So many things have kicked in from that experience because, when you can't walk, you can't exercise. I was putting on weight, and then you're miserable about putting on weight. And, so many things have come from having my knees back. I can, well, one, I can go driving. I'm part of a driving club now, and, we go driving and all of that. Um, well, obviously work. I've got a standing desk anyway, but so I'm standing all day. I don't feel that on my knees at all. Um, oh, what other things? Yeah, walking. I mean, during lockdown, the only thing you could do was go for a quick walk. So if I couldn't do that as well, it would just been horrendous. Like through COVID, just been.
I'm very
I don't know if people know, but Victoria was one of the sternest lockdowns. They're saying globally, really, it was really tough. I had like a frozen shoulder. I had all of that stuff. And I remember reading that they don't actually know what causes a frozen shoulder. Even now, they don't. Anyway, I had one of those and I had it, surgically. It was quite bad. Like they inject you with saline to kind of prise apart your bones. Anyway, that was a long time ago, maybe 12 years ago or something like that. Um, and I started feeling pangs and I thought, oh no, because I remember that. What happens with a frozen shoulder is you can't lift your arm up. You can't do that. You kind of here and it's painful. So trying to wash your hair is a painful act. Trying to get dressed was a nightmare. I couldn't put dresses on that needed a zip at the back and things like that, just like little things that you wouldn't even think about. You can't do with a frozen shoulder. It was just crazy. It was my left side. You couldn't do that. You could. I mean, You can just see my fingers there. You can't do that when you've got a frozen shoulder. Yeah, lots of things, and I could feel that it was starting to come back, and unbelievable. I just went on Facebook, and you're, it was just unreal. Honestly, sometimes the universe turns. Your your latest video at that day was you started talking about shoulders, and I thought, oh my God, that's just amazing. Alfie,
I
I
love
haven't even
thickness, isn't it?
spoken to you, and you knew all about it. It was great. I didn't even have to ask, and it did. It felt like it just felt like the world was like you were totally right. The whole world was crashing down on my shoulders. We were in the midst of COVID-19. I've got a new man in my life. We've been together 2.5 years, but he's Iranian and all the borders are closed. So I can't go and see him, and he can't come here. All of that stuff, all of that, working from home. I can't go and see my daughter because the borders are closed between Victoria and New South Wales. There were just so many things. Christmas is coming. We didn't know if we could be with, family and friends or too
All of
many
these
things
things.
going on. And I just did your pain-free method and it was beautiful. It just works. It just works. You
So
can't explain it to somebody unless they really do it. They have to really do it. It's not just a quick chat. You can't just sort of, do you know what I mean? You
yeah,
have to really sit, be still, and really talk to your body. And I find it amazing, Althea. Really, it is amazing. It's
perfect, perfect.
I would tell in fact, I try and tell everybody that this works,
Yeah,
and you must talk to Althea. I find it really interesting, Althea, when people, they believe that you're either science or you're this. And it's like, no, you can be both. I mean, I'm very sciencey. I love science and I'm really interested in science, but I just don't believe that they have all the answers. And in fact, a scientist will tell you that That's part of science, is that they don't have all the answers. Otherwise, there wouldn't be science. You know, they're there to discover, to make new discoveries. And with medical science, I think it's interesting that they always try and talk about holistic healing and all of this. And what they're talking about is what you're doing. It's connecting with the body. Do you know what
Exactly.
I mean? It's
Exactly.
interesting that they're finally starting to talk about
I
those sorts
really
of
appreciate
things,
that.
because people are so scared of it. I'm not sure why. Perhaps it's I don't know. You know, who knows
It's like
this?
new age kind of thing or something, or
Well, maybe they think,
fluffy.
oh, if you believe that, then you have to start believing about a lot of wishy-washy things. And maybe there are wishy-washy things out there. I don't know. I'm not into that myself. I don't know. It just worked. Okay, well, that's the physical bit. Okay, that's going to heal. We know that's going to be fine, but it's going to come back. You know, so what is it that's
That's right.
brought this on? You know, this decision.
So you're
I've
going
always thought
deeper.
that shoulders were about a decision. You know,
Okay.
and yeah, I possibly a doubt. You know, that I had this doubt, this nagging doubt in my head. You know, I think it's usually about men for me, you know, relationships. And I think I had this doubt about this man, you know, is what's my doubt about, you know, and I had to really delve into that a little bit, and
So
came up
you're really
feeling
getting.
feeling like things are going okay, you know, that we're going to be all right. Perhaps a massage would have done it, you know, for like a
Yeah.
20-minute thing, but I know it would have come back.
Yeah.
That's what happens with frozen shoulders. You know, I did physiotherapy, I had a massage every week, I had a chiropractor. Oh my gosh, I had lots of things going on with that. And in the end, it was surgery. And, you know, and that was a long time of pain. And I thought, I'm not going through that again. I'm not doing that again. I don't want to be
But
there.
how,
It grows really gradually, that your movement gets less and less and less until suddenly it's like you can't, you know, you're like this. That's, I don't know if you can see it, you're like that. You know, you've got no movement in your shoulder at all. And it's really bad. Next morning, I'm like this.
yeah.
Beautiful. And not only for the feeling of the physical feeling of my arm, it's
Yeah.
more that I feel mentally happier, happier about my relationship, which is much more important in a way. You know,
Yeah.
I just feel like we're going to be all right. You know, like doors are going to open, we're going to be together. In some ways, your steps are easy, but it's not that it's hard, and it's not that it's painful to ask yourself. It's not done, is it? We just don't do it.
We're
That's the
gonna do it.
thing. So it's not that it's difficult. It's it how can I explain it? It's not hard, it's just unknown. It's just you know, that you've got to work it out. It's like, well, how do you ask yourself? You know, it feels a bit funny maybe. And that
You
might
get
be
all
a
the
bit
answers.
scary
All that.
for some people. You know, they
Yeah.
might sort of feel like, oh no, then I'll open up a can of worms. You know, maybe I don't want to go down that path of figuring out why am I in pain, you know, and that's right. For me, I knew I had to, because I knew that was the way, you
Okay.
know, but I'm thinking about perhaps some people, like for example, my brother, he would, if I said to my brother, I, you know, like just say he had the same thing, and I said to him, I've got this brilliant method, but you have to tap into your emotion and figure out what's the question that you're not answering, that you're trying to ignore. You know, what is it? He'll probably say, "Oh, I don't know. You know, I don't want to go there."
Mm.
It's like, well, then stay in pain. What can I tell you? You have to do these things. Sometimes it's the fear of the unknown, which is much worse than
Mm.
actually finding out.
How do you feel now because of getting rid of that?
Ah, I feel great. What can I tell you? You know, I think can I just go back a step? I
Mm.
think self-reflection is not everybody can do that. I think they can do it, but they don't want to do it. That's
I think so.
the
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe.
self-reflection is something, you know, and that relates to a lot of things, you know, like our behavior, our attitudes, you know, sometimes when you see something you don't like and you think, oh, well, why didn't I like it? Not many people do that. They just accept, well, I don't like it. They don't question themselves about, well,
Yes.
what could it be that I don't like?
Yes.
Anyway, I'm big on that. Self-reflection was something we were taught when you're learning to be a teacher, and I thought I wanted to be a teacher at one stage. So self-reflection was a really big part of learning to do that. And that was one of the things I took away from that whole entire um, degree. So I'm
Pain.
like you, Althea. I'm interested in evidence. I'm not interested in what people tell me as hearsay. And if it's always. I mean, it was funny that you mentioned the ankle thing. So of course, I'd forgotten all about that. To be honest, that
Good.
was a long time ago,
Yeah, yeah.
and you just fixed it. I just remember we kind of joked about it,
Yeah.
and you said, "Oh, is there anything I can do?" And I said, "Oh, well, actually, if you can fix my ankle," and you went, "Oh, well, actually," and
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it because that was brilliant, and yeah, so I already had my evidence. I knew that this worked, so I didn't need to be convinced again because I had my evidence. You
And
can't
that
be in pain
completed
for a
you.
year, not be able to walk, not be able to wear certain shoes,
Mm.
and and
Yeah.
then you
But,
come along and do that. It's just so funny. But the knees thing, wow.
mm.
Even my sister, I mean, I talk to my sister all the time, and we spoke yesterday, and she asked me again. She said, "Oh, how are your knees?" And I said, "What? Oh, my knees. I don't even think about them." And she reminded me of that time. She goes, "Oh, but when I was there," and I thought, "Yeah, I remember, but
Mm.
I don't think about them anymore. I
Yeah.
don't need to."
You said you went surfing. Is that true? You went surfing or
Oh
something
yeah, and surfing. I could go. Well, shocking because I mean I
Oh,
hadn't,
dear.
I was a
That's
big
significant. It's
girl then,
amazing.
big
What?
girl in a surf suit. Oh my god,
Come
in a
on.
wet.
Oh,
And
I love your energy. You're so
couldn't do it.
feisty and just
I
go for it.
couldn't do it. Come on. I was in a wetsuit and I carried my surfboard to the waves. And in the end, I have to confess, I put the surfboard down, and I filmed the rest of my
No.
friends.
But I
And
tell you what,
but it was brilliant.
you got your wetsuit on, you carried your
Oh,
surfboard to the water,
absolutely.
and you were talking earlier about you had to go miles around to go to flat
Oh,
areas.
that's
You
right.
didn't have to go over the
Those things.
dune.
I couldn't do none of those things. I wouldn't
Yeah.
even have been able to get into my wetsuit because you'd
Mm.
need to. Well, how? They're really hard to get on.
What would you
Yeah.
say to somebody perhaps watching this? They've got an awful thing, pain, a condition, symptom that's perhaps been going on for weeks or months or
Mm,
years, and they're contemplating working with me or wondering what if it's going to work for them, or what would you say to them?
try it. You must try it. In the end, what have you got to lose? It's almost like you get to a point where you can't remember your life before the pain. That's when it gets that bad.
That's the reality, isn't it?
Yeah, you would imagine that people would try anything, but this is not wishy-washy. It's not asking, people to, I don't know, like burn a fire and walk around it 7 times and do this and do, it's not wishy-washy rubbish. This is about learning about yourself. What could be more important?
Yeah, that's it.
Do you know what I
Tuning
mean?
in.
It's like listening to yourself and giving yeah, I would say try it. You must try it. It works, and you'll never look back. You'll never look back.
And the,
Anybody tells me they're in pain, I always send them your way because really you're
thank
just a
you.
healing angel.